You might think that the fastest declining city in the world is in some poverty stricken or war torn country, but that couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, the fastest declining city in the world is in one of the safest and most prosperous countries in the world. Yes, it's in Japan. And the city is Nagasaki. So, how bad is it then? Well, from the 1990s to now, the city has gone from around 500,000 people to less than 400,000 people. And from 2020 to now, it's actually lost almost 5% of its entire population. And sadly, it's not the young people who are staying, it's the old people. So the city is declining fast. It's honestly so sad to read these facts, because I've been to Nagasaki with my friends. We did a bunch of things, like look out over the viewing spot, have really good food at the amazing restaurants there. I mean, they're famous for champon, for example, Chinese-Japanese dish, which is super duper good. And then we've also just, hung out with the locals and had a great time. But we also saw the devastation while we were there. Half-empty buildings everywhere, half-empty trains, really old infrastructure. And we decided to go to an island right next to Nagasaki, which is almost abandoned. It's nicknamed the Cat Island because there's apparently more cats living there than people. And just look at these photos. This island is so cool, but it's also such a stark reminder of what can happen to a city like Nagasaki if nothing is done. But before going too dark and gloomy, let's talk about the history of Nagasaki. It's quite hard to believe now, but Nagasaki used to be one of the richest cities in Japan. You see, during the Edo period, Nagasaki was a thriving hub for foreigners and Japanese people because it was the only place in Japan Japanese people could trade with foreigners. And boy did they trade. Everything from guns, clocks, to book about science that Japanese people have never heard of was all traded in Nagasaki. And in return, the Japanese provided porcelain, art, silk, and many things that Westerners would die to have a piece of. For centuries, Nagasaki had a very important role in Japan. But that is probably not the reason why you know about this city. You probably know about the city because of the horrific event that happened on August 9, 1945, when the atomic bomb, Fat Man, was dropped over the city. This was in fact the largest bomb that has ever been dropped on a city. It was over 50% bigger than the little boy atomic bomb that dropped over Hiroshima, and it devastated the city completely. The bomb detonated with a force equivalent to 21,000 tons of TNT, creating a fireball that incinerated everything within a 1.6 kilometer radius. Out of a population of around 240,000 people, an estimated 70,000 people were killed instantly. And by the end of the year, the death toll rose to about 80,000 due to the lingering effects of the radiation. Nearly half the city lay in ruins, with around 40% of Nagasaki's buildings completely destroyed or beyond repair. But Nagasaki did not stay in ruins. Because right after the war, the people who still lived there worked hard to rebuild their city. By the 1950s, there were already signs of a strong economy emerging. The population grew from around 140,000 in 1945 to over 250,000 by the 60s, showing a remarkable recovery. Industries like shipbuilding and fishing, which were crucial to Nagasaki's economy, began to thrive again. And in 1955, a peace park was established, right on the epicenter of where the Fat Man atomic bomb exploded. Today this park has the iconic peace statue, and a museum that memorializes all the victims of the atomic bomb and tells the story of what actually happened. And I've been here, and it is truly astonishing. Going back to Nagasaki's economy, the city was doing great. And as Japan grew richer, so did Nagasaki. But when the devastating bubble burst of the 1990s happened in Japan, Nagasaki fell extra hard. A lot of the industries that Nagasaki specialized in, especially the shipping industry, got outsourced to countries like China and Korea, which could build much larger and much cheaper ships than Japan could at this point. Nagasaki really got a double whammy of problems. First, there were just no jobs for young people in the city, so a lot of them started moving to other cities, either to close cities like Fukuoka or Kumamoto, or to Tokyo. And then, the overall population decline in the country affected Nagasaki extra hard, where people got older, the tax base got lower, and less people wanted to move into the city. Today, living in Nagasaki is a stark contrast to its vibrant past. Even though the city is one of the most beautiful in Japan because of its hilly nature and amazing viewing spots, the sight of abandoned houses is becoming more and more common. Once vibrant neighborhoods with beautiful houses and apartments and stores have now rows of empty houses with windows broken and gardens overgrown. And because a lot of people that leave don't think they can sell their properties, they just abandon them, making the city look more and more decrepit. This exodus of young people also has a devastating consequence on the local economy. With fewer young people that supports the workforce, businesses struggle to stay open, and then it leads to a rise in unemployment for the young people that stays there. On top of that, this economic stagnation reduces the city's tax base, which in turn affects the funding available for public services. Now, many older people live alone in areas with inadequate public transit and limited access to healthcare, and the city's efforts to support its aging population are hampered by the lack of funds and a workforce. And so how is it for the young people that have decided to stay in Nagasaki? Well, it doesn't seem great for them. I actually did some research and found this new channel that interviewed a bunch of people in Nagasaki that were younger on how it is to still live there. And one young mom said that she really struggled to find anyone to take care of her children if she were to work. And so she couldn't really have anything but a small part-time job while her husband worked full-time in a factory in the city. There were also 2 university students in Nagasaki that complained that the city felt so isolated because the city actually doesn't have a Shinkansen connection, even though it's really close to bustling cities like Fukuoka. Hence, when it was time for them to apply for jobs, they had to either find a low-paying job in Nagasaki or move somewhere else like Fukuoka because they just couldn't commute from Nagasaki to a thriving city. Man, it's so depressing to hear that there seems to be a lot of people who want to stay in Nagasaki, but they just can't because of lack of social services or lack of connections to other cities. And of course, just the general lack of any work. And again, I want to emphasize how beautiful this city is and how much nature and amazing wonders there is there. Because this is not a city where people are happy to leave. This is not some industrial dump where people were just there to work and now they can happily go look for another job. No, this is really a magnificent place with beautiful nature surrounding it and a beautiful city core that really should be visited. And that makes me come to my next point. What can we do to save this city? Well, I think the first thing is quite obvious. this is one of the costliest things, but it could really help. If there was a bridge and a better connection to major cities like Fukuoka, people could live in Nagasaki and commute to cities like Fukuoka. This is really a no-brainer, and I think something that has to be done if the city is gonna have a future. And another thing is the I word, immigration. And I actually did some research for this video and found this really weird project that Nagasaki City is doing, where they will give, it looks like, anyone that lives outside of Nagasaki City money to try to live there if you pass the migration. And this seems to mean that you can live in Tokyo right now, or you can live in any other country where you have a right to, stay in Japan for, I guess, longer than just a tourist visa. And they actually give quite a lot of money. Like, if you stay for 6 nights, they give you 30,000 yen. And if you stay for 30 nights, they give you 90,000 yen. And on this website, they link to a bunch of stuff like what you can do to, enjoy your time in Nagasaki and stuff. I mean, they're really trying to get people there. As I've never heard about this program before, I guess it's not super successful yet, but I'm glad to see they're trying something at least. But again, I think, for real immigration to happen in Nagasaki, these random programs is not really the solution, right? They actually need, an easier step for immigrants to come there, and then jobs that the immigrants can actually do, whether it be farming or industrial work or something, like a funnel to actually attract immigrants. I think in general, it's really hard to reverse the trends of a city like this, especially in a country that's already suffering from depopulation. But I definitely think that Nagasaki has the potential. There are many smaller cities and smaller places in Japan that have managed to turn the tide by attracting either city dwellers or tourists. Other cities that are hilly and beautiful and the same size as Nagasaki, like Kobe for example. Yeah, it's a bit bigger, but quite similar in size, is thriving because it has really good connection to the major city of Osaka, and it's lovely, metropolitan, and really cool, and there's a lot of cool people who want to move there. Another great example is Naoshima, which it's a way smaller place than Nagasaki, but that island was about to completely perish just some years ago. But because of renewed effort from the government and people that saw the potential of the place became a tourist mecca. Now they have arts from people like Yayoi Kusama and the Great Pumpkin and other beautiful art installations that makes both Japanese people and foreigners flock to this tiny island to see the things it has to offer. This is really a success story. And I think parts of it Nagasaki could definitely mimic because it is so beautiful. But yeah, to be realistic, I think Nagasaki's decline will likely continue for the foreseeable future if something drastic isn't done. But I want to do the little I can do, my channel can do to help, and tell you to please go to Nagasaki if you're in Japan. It is really cool, and it's truly the local Japanese experience you won't get if you only go to Tokyo or Kyoto. And with that said, I just want to say, please like my videos, and please just comment anything you want. I promise I will answer if it's an interesting comment. And other than that, goodbye.